All right, so ready to get deep into the world of salt and water.
Always ready for a deep dive, especially one you picked out yourself.
Yeah, this one's from a YouTube video called Salt and Water
Okay.
by Barbara O'Neill, a health educator from the Living Springs Retreat.
Sounds intriguing. What stood out to you?
Well, you know how we always say food is life, right?
Yeah, fuel for the body.
Right. But she flips the script.
Oh, how so?
Water is actually the second most vital element, she says, even more so than food.
Huh. Interesting. Makes sense, though, we can survive for weeks without food.
Right. But only a matter of days without water.
True. It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
Totally. And then, get this, sodium, aka salt, comes in third.
Wow. So it's not just about taste.
Right. It's essential for our cells to function properly.
It makes you think about all those low-salt diets out there.
Exactly. And she talks about this balance, this dance between sodium and potassium in our cells.
Yeah, constantly regulating water balance, right?
Right. Too much of one, not enough of the other, throws everything off.
And then she brings up table salt, basically saying it's dangerous.
Yeah, she doesn't hold back. Why does she think it's so bad?
Well, table salt is just sodium chloride. It's stripped down.
Right.
Remember that balance we talked about? Well, table salt messes it up, potentially leading to things like high blood pressure.
So what does she recommend instead?
She's a big fan of Celtic and Himalayan salts.
Is it just because they're natural, or is there more to it?
More than just natural, think of them like mineral multivitamins.
Oh, okay. So instead of isolated sodium and chloride.
You get a whole spectrum of minerals in their natural form, all balanced.
And she's especially into Celtic salt.
Especially, and you know why?
Why?
High magnesium content.
Oh, right. Magnesium and hydration. We talked about that before.
Exactly. She even suggests putting a tiny Celtic salt crystal on your tongue before drinking water.
Whoa, really?
Claims it helps with faster hydration. Sounds strange, but who knows? Maybe there's something to it.
It all comes back to that cellular hydration, right?
She describes magnesium as a magnet for water, drawing it into the cells.
Okay, I can see the connection there. But there was also this thing about sodium and glucose, which seemed odd to me.
Yeah, a surprising link.
She suggests sodium is actually crucial for glucose to get into the cells.
And therefore for energy production.
Makes you think, if you're on a low-salt diet and struggling with energy,
Especially if you have issues with insulin resistance or diabetes.
could be making things worse.
That's the point she makes. She also goes on about dehydration being the root of so many health problems. Headaches, fatigue, digestive issues.
Even lower back pain, right?
Exactly. And she brings up this book by Dr. Batman who says many people aren't sick, they're just thirsty.
Really? So simple.
Could be our bodies crying out for water, according to him.
It's almost scary to think how many issues might just be dehydration.
Makes you wonder, right? So the question is, how do we stay properly hydrated? What can we actually do?
I know it's one thing to understand it, but putting it into practice is a whole other ballgame.
Well, she emphasizes consistency, small amounts of water, frequently throughout the day.
Instead of like chugging a huge glass when you remember.
Right, like half a glass every hour or so. She also recommends drinking water between meals.
Between meals. Not during.
Not during. She says it messes with digestion.
Oh, how
Says it dilutes our stomach acid.
Which needs to be strong to break down food.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the impact on our brains? I know she's worried about that, especially as we age.
Huge impact, she says. Dehydration can lead to brain fog, memory problems, mood swings, all that.
So staying well hydrated is like...
Like watering a plant to keep it thriving.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
I like the one she uses about how God sends rain little by little, not all at once.
Right. Consistent hydration throughout the day, just like how nature works.
That she estimates we lose like 10 glasses of water every day just through normal bodily functions.
No reserve tank. Got to keep refilling.
Wow. Makes you think about all those Alzheimer's statistics.
Alarming, isn't it? New cases every week, and she definitely thinks dehydration plays a role.
She even mentions an elderly woman with dementia, and her cognitive function improved drastically.
Just by drinking more water and getting her bowels moving.
It's amazing how much of a difference something so simple can make.
It's about listening to our bodies and understanding how they work, like she keeps saying.
Empowering us to make better choices.
Exactly. She talks about this man who had terrible stomach problems for 25 years.
Oh, the one who tried everything.
Yes, medications, antibiotics, the whole 9 yards.
What was his turning point?
Changing his water drinking habits.
You're kidding.
Turns out he was drinking tons of water with his meals.
Diluting his stomach acid.
Exactly, allowing bacteria to flourish.
So he just switched to drinking water between meals.
And the pain disappeared.
Wow. That's incredible.
It really shows how powerful those small changes can be.
And that we should question everything, not just accept what we're told.
Absolutely.
Now, she also mentioned hydrochloric acid.
HCl.
Right. It's important for digestion,
But
obviously.
it goes beyond that.
What else does it do?
Activates digestive enzymes, kills off bad bacteria in the gut.
So it helps maintain a healthy gut microbiome.
Exactly. And dehydration can mess with its production.
Leading to more digestive problems, infections.
It's like a domino effect.
One thing leads to another. And then she brings up the brain again, how dehydration shrinks those brain cells.
Literally shrinks them.
So headaches, fatigue, difficulty concentrating,
Could all be dehydration.
makes you want to reach for water instead of coffee next time you're feeling sluggish.
Especially as we get older, staying hydrated is crucial.
And then there's the Alzheimer's link, which is just scary.
She mentions all those new cases in Australia.
Every week. It's terrifying.
Dehydration definitely seems to play a part.
That story about the woman in the dementia care facility.
Oh, the one who hadn't had water in days?
Yeah, and she was severely constipated.
They got her drinking water, helped with her bowels.
And her dementia symptoms vanished within 24 hours.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
It really highlights the power of those simple things.
This basic care.
So important to listen to our bodies and what they're telling us.
Absolutely.
And that's where O'Neill's emphasis on working with our bodies comes in.
Supporting their natural healing abilities.
Moving away from relying on medications and quick fixes.
Empowering us to take control of our health.
She seems to envision a world where people share their knowledge and experiences.
Creating a collective wisdom that benefits everyone.
Beautiful vision.
It all starts with prioritizing our well-being.
Taking that first step.
Absolutely. And remember, progress over perfection.
Nicely said.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to hear what she has to say about minerals in the next section.
I have a feeling it's going to be fascinating. So she goes into how table salt is made. It's kind of wild, actually.
Okay, I'm all ears.
When seawater evaporates, the first thing to crystallize is sodium chloride, simply because...
The most abundant.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what gets collected and processed into our table salt.
So all those other minerals just...
Left behind. Then they bleach it, add aluminum to stop it from clumping.
That's a lot of processing.
It is, and she argues it strips away those other potentially good minerals.
So they're not only less nutritious, but maybe even harmful.
Possibly. It's like that whole movement towards less processed food.
Yeah, back to basics.
Whole, unrefined, that's what she's all about, even with salt. She's a huge advocate for Celtic salt.
It's more.
Holistic, she says. More nourishing. And it's naturally moist because of that high magnesium content.
That's right, back to hydration again.
Everything's connected.
But what makes Celtic salt's mineral balance so much better?
Well, she doesn't really say when table salt would be better, but those extra minerals, it's like they create synergy in the body, you know?
Working together.
Yeah, instead of just a sodium blast.
Now, calcium is super important for cells, but she says it can't get in on its own.
He's a chaperone.
Vitamin D.
Bingo! Vitamin D is like the key that unlocks the door for calcium.
So if you don't have enough vitamin D...
Calcium just can't get in to do its job.
Interesting. And once calcium is inside, she says it helps other minerals get in too.
It's like a VIP system.
Calcium's the king.
Leading the way.
Makes you think about getting enough vitamin D, huh?
Crucial stuff. She's big on that, whether from sunshine or supplements.
And magnesium comes up again for cellular hydration, like we talked about with Celtic salt. I love how she calls it a water-hungry molecule.
It really does guzzle it down, attracts and binds to those water molecules.
That's how it pulls water into the cells, right?
Exactly. It's fascinating, isn't it? These basic things, water, salt, minerals,
The building blocks of life.
keeping our bodies going.
Now, I know O'Neill is really focused on dehydration. Does she go into how much water we actually lose each day?
She breaks it down through sweat, urine, breathing, even bowel movement.
Really? That much?
It's about 10 glasses a day, she estimates. Makes you realize we need to be drinking a lot.
It does. And she says it's a myth that a dry mouth is the only sign of dehydration.
Especially if it's chronic. The body tries to compensate.
So what should we be looking for?
Dark urine, fatigue, headaches, constipation, things like that.
More subtle signs.
Mhm.
Now, she talked about the stomach lining and how it protects against ulcers.
With that thick mucosal wall.
Right. And the sodium bicarbonate. Does that tie into dehydration?
It does. When we're dehydrated, that wall gets thinner, making us more vulnerable.
Weaker barrier.
Uh-huh.
And does water play a role in producing digestive enzymes too,
Absolutely. Dehydration can mean not enough of those enzymes to break down food.
leading to indigestion, bloating?
All those fun things. We talked about sodium and glucose,
Mhm.
particularly for people with diabetes.
Right. But does she say anything about water and regulating blood sugar?
She does. The pancreas, which makes insulin, needs enough water to work right.
Okay, so dehydration.
Can hinder insulin production.
Making those diabetes symptoms worse.
Fatigue, thirst, urination, all of it.
It's like everything comes back to hydration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like that guy with the stomach problems for 25 years.
Tried every medication under the sun.
And the key was
Changing when he drank water.
incredible.
He was drinking tons with meals, diluting his stomach acid.
Creating a breeding ground for bacteria.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just switched to drinking between meals.
And it was like a miracle cure.
Sometimes it's the simplest things.
And she also talked about hydrochloric acid, HCl.
Essential for digestion.
Breaks down
Yeah.
protein, but is there more to it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Activates enzymes, kills bacteria.
So important for a healthy gut.
Right. And she says many people, especially as they get older, don't produce enough HCl naturally.
Really?
So supplementing can be helpful, but always talk to a doctor first, of course.
Are there natural ways to help?
She recommends apple cider vinegar. It has acetic acid.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we've covered the gut. What about the brain? I know dehydration affects that too.
Big time. She says those brain cells actually shrink when they're thirsty.
Shrink? Wow.
So all those cognitive issues, headaches, brain fog,
Mood swings even.
it might just be dehydration.
Makes you think twice before reaching for that extra cup of coffee.
Especially as we age. Gotta keep those brain cells hydrated.
She mentions Alzheimer's too, doesn't she?
That's a scary one.
Those new cases?
Every week, just in Australia.
Dehydration definitely seems linked.
It's a possibility. She tells this story about a woman admitted to a dementia facility.
Severely dehydrated, wasn't she?
No water for 2 days, no bowel movement for 3,
So they got her drinking water.
and used herbs to help her bowels.
And
Within 24 hours, her dementia symptoms were gone. Talking, interacting like a different person.
that's remarkable.
Her daughter was so amazed she took her home from the facility.
The power of simple things, right? Makes you wonder if some of those dementia cases are really just
Dehydration.
a bit frightening to think about.
It is. It highlights the importance of those basic needs.
Hydration, bowel health, those are fundamentals. And it all goes back to listening to our bodies.
Paying attention to the signals.
Now, she also talked about breathing and the respiratory system.
Yeah.
How does dehydration play into that?
Well, those tiny air sacs in our lungs, the alveoli, they need a thin layer of fluid to work right.
Okay.
But when we're dehydrated, that fluid gets thicker, stickier.
Making it harder to breathe.
Harder for oxygen to get in, carbon dioxide to get out,
That explains why someone might feel short of breath.
even without having asthma or anything like that.
It's all connected. And dehydration can make those respiratory illnesses worse too.
Definitely.
It's amazing how something as simple as water can have such a big impact on so many systems. She tells a story about a man who came to her retreat.
Chronic headaches, congested chest, terrible lower back pain,
Wasn't he drinking a crazy amount of soda and coffee?
gallons of it, and no water at all.
So she got him drinking water.
Within a week, his headaches were gone, chest cleared up, back pain was way better. 5 weeks later, he was up to 4 liters of water a day, feeling like a new man.
Another incredible transformation. And it brings us back to the basics, meeting our needs.
Even if we think we're getting enough fluids, it might not be the right kind.
Speaking of, we've talked about water. What about salt? Does she say more about its functions in the body?
Oh, yeah. Electrolyte balance, nerve function, muscle contraction. It's all about salt. When we sweat, we lose electrolytes, sodium, potassium.
Magnesium.
So it's not just about replacing water, but those electrolytes too.
Makes sense.
She recommends adding a pinch of kelpic salt to water or drinking those electrolyte drinks.
Especially after exercise.
Yeah, when you've been sweating.
What about food? Any specific foods rich in electrolytes?
Leafy greens, avocados, bananas, those are good.
Okay. And potassium is important for balancing sodium.
Right. She stresses that. Eat your bananas and avocados.
Or use a natural salt substitute with potassium chloride if you need to cut back on sodium.
Good point.
I like how she emphasizes that salt isn't the enemy. It's about choosing the right kind and not going overboard.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, she also mentions adrenal fatigue. What is that exactly?
It's when your adrenal glands, the ones that handle stress, get overworked.
Burned out.
Yeah. Stress, bad diet, lack of sleep, it can all contribute.
So what are the signs?
Tiredness, brain fog, can't concentrate, sugar cravings, low energy.
So if you're feeling constantly exhausted and
Think
stressed,
adrenal fatigue.
what can you do about it?
Reduce stress, sleep better, eat well. That's the foundation. She also likes those adaptogenic herbs, ashwagandha, rhodiola.
Heard of those. They help the body handle stress.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense. Then she moves on to the lymphatic system, part of the immune system,
Right. Responsible for removing waste and toxins.
the body's cleanup crew.
Needs movement and hydration to work properly.
So how do we support it?
Exercise is key. Walking, rebounding, yoga, things like that. She also recommends dry brushing.
Dry brushing, what that?
Brushing your skin with a natural bristle brush.
What does that do?
Stimulates lymphatic drainage, helps circulation, boosts detoxification.
Interesting. I've heard of it, but never understood the purpose.
It's all about keeping things moving. And of course, we can't talk about detox without talking about the skin.
Our largest organ.
Right, and it eliminates toxins through sweat.
So we need to be sweat.
And hydrated. Hydration is crucial for that process to work right.
So it's not just about drinking when we're thirsty. It's about supporting detoxification.
Exactly.
Drink plenty of water. Eat those hydrating fruits and veggies.
Stay away from the sugary drinks.
She also mentioned dry brushing and saunas for sweating and detox. I'm seeing a theme here.
It's all connected. Hydration, salt, minerals, detoxification.
She weaves it all together into this big picture of health.
It's a holistic approach, recognizing that our bodies are these complex systems working together.
Amazing. It's not about treating symptoms in isolation. It's about understanding the whole system.
Exactly. That's her message. We're these incredible intelligent systems working to maintain balance.
It's about seeing our bodies as partners, not enemies.
Giving them what they need to thrive.
This has been really eye-opening. What are your takeaways from this section?
It's empowering, isn't it? All this knowledge, but ultimately...
We're the experts on our own bodies.
Exactly. She encourages people to experiment,
With hydration, salt intake.
see how your body responds, adjust accordingly.
So there's not one right answer for everyone.
Nope. It's about finding what works for you.
Like becoming your own health detective.
Exactly. Observe, experiment, make those adjustments.
It's a more personalized approach.
Way more than conventional healthcare, which can be so.
Rigid.
Yeah, one size fits all doesn't always work.
And she talks about intuition, trusting that inner wisdom.
Our bodies are smart. They know what they need.
It's about tuning into that.
Drowning out the noise, listening to those signals.
It takes practice, though.
It does. Patience, self-compassion, all that.
But the payoff is huge.
Greater self-awareness, feeling more in control.
She even mentions mindfulness, being present in our bodies. Any specific tips for that?
Just paying attention to those physical sensations.
Noticing how we feel.
Slow down. Be present. What does this food make me feel? How does this activity feel?
Cultivating gratitude for our bodies.
Right. Appreciating them, not just seeing them as,
Vehicles.
yeah, they're part of who we are. And that ties into the spiritual aspect she talks about.
How our physical health is linked to our mental and spiritual well-being.
It's all connected. Nourishing our bodies nourishes everything else.
Seeing our bodies as sacred.
Temples, deserving of respect and care, honoring ourselves.
Okay, so that's the big picture, but what about practical steps? What can people actually do?
Start simple. Drink water first thing in the morning.
Rehydrate after sleep,
Right. And sip water throughout the day.
instead of chugging it all at once.
Exactly. Don't wait until you're thirsty.
That's a good point. I'm guilty of that.
Thirst is often a late sign. The body's already dehydrated.
So how much should we be drinking?
She says aim for half your body weight in ounces.
So if you weigh 150 pounds,
75 ounces of water a day.
good starting point.
But everyone's different. Adjust based on your needs, activity level, climate, all that.
What about other drinks? Do herbal teas count?
They can contribute, but watch out for the sugary stuff.
Soda, juice.
They actually dehydrate you. Now with salt, she's all about Celtic salt, Himalayan salt.
Right. Ditch the table salt.
Use a pinch in your water, on your food, in cooking.
Especially boiling veggies, she says.
Helps keep those nutrients in.
And potassium. We need that to balance sodium.
Load up on those bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes, leafy greens.
Or use a salt substitute with potassium chloride. It's interesting, she doesn't demonize salt completely.
It's essential, just got to be mindful about the type and amount.
Balance is key.
Always.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. So much valuable information.
O'Neill is a wealth of knowledge, and she's so passionate about it.
She really wants to empower people to take control of their health.
It's inspiring. Her message is really clear.
Ditch the table salt. Embrace Celtic salt. Stay hydrated. Pay attention to your body.
Work with it, not against it.
It's about a holistic approach, mind, body, spirit. It's all connected.
And she reminds us that we can heal. We have that power within us.
Even small changes can make a big difference. So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with this question. What small change will you make today to support your well-being?
Maybe swap out your salt or drink an extra glass of water.
Or simply take a moment to appreciate your amazing body.
It's a miracle, really.
So until our next deep dive, stay curious, stay hydrated, and keep exploring that fascinating world within.